Hello. I've been feeling to speak about this for a bit, and especially very strongly for the past few days and today, and I've been feeling some discomfort about it and some avoidance of it. Not that it's anything especially intense compared to others, but I've just been feeling that. And I also really love the flowers that are in bloom and the smells that are here. Living in this area for a few months, and you may see later, there's just fields of flowers, and it's just fantastic. And I'm so much more connected to my how I actually feel physically and psychologically and spiritually than I was in the past. So it's just so much more clear to me, like, I'm not interested in living in cities. I'm not interested in living in places where I don't see green. Like, when I look out the window, I'm just not interested. I'm really grateful to have found this place for right now. And now I'm climbing up this old thing. So, yeah. When I have spoken on videos, or when I speak with people in general, and we're chatting about situations in our lives, challenges or whatnot, what I often or almost always go back to is, for me, the very foundational, the very fundamentals of shifting life from unconscious and negative and harmful, where I'm living feeling stress all the time, feeling anxiety, feeling anger, feeling sadness, feeling depression all the time, and feeling controlled by that, and that's subsequently impacting my life experience, impacting the way that I interact with others. If I'm at a place where I'm looking to change that, I'm feeling hopeless, or life is out of control, or this big doom and gloom, what's going to happen, COVID, wars, economy, inflation, all these sorts of things. If I'm at that place, for me, starting the very foundational is just starting small with small little practices that assist me in changing these deeply ingrained old habit patterns that I didn't realize were habit patterns, but because most everyone around me is doing them and I have been doing them for so many years, they've just become this automatic ingrained habit pattern of thinking this way, and subsequently experiencing this in the world, in our society, where, arguments or aggression or whatever is commonplace. So for me, I'm very grateful when I began exploring this journey of, like, hey, is there a way that I can intentionally shift my life experience? Because right now I'm feeling super depressed. I have for years. I'm feeling very negative. Sometimes thoughts of not wanting to live anymore, addiction with alcohol, sex addiction, negative relationships with family, all of these things. When I first began going about, hey, can I intentionally change this, or is this just, I can tell inside of myself, this is not just, that's how it is. There is more, and I know, I don't know how, but I'm gonna find out how. I began looking into very simple things, understanding the very basics around how does the brain work, and subsequently how do habits get created, get reinforced, or how can I deconstruct them? How can I change them? I don't use words like breaking habits, because what I'm talking about right now, what I'll share later, is I work to have everything. I look at what's my long-term goal. My goal is positivity. My goal is me being positive, and subsequently my impact in the world or existence being positive. And so if that's my goal, then just by some very basic logic, very basic math, I can't get to positivity with negativity. It just, like creates like, like two horses make love, they make horses. Like they don't make elephants. It's just how it goes. And so it's the same with thoughts. And so even for something as what people would say insignificant or simple as breaking a habit's inside of me. It's in here and it's in my DNA. It's a part of me. So I don't want to break anything with me. I want to be fluid and soft and supple and loving. So when I first began looking into this, I read some books. One book is called The Power of Habit. Also did a little online course called Become a Super Learner, which I had no idea these things were building on them the way that they were. I'm just very thankful that they're the way I went into it, right? So in Become a Super Learner, he goes into very basics about how the brain works, and in The Power of Habit, the same. So some of those basic understandings that I learned then, and subsequently in my learnings was reinforced many times, and now it's just for me it's very factual and obvious, is that whenever I do something, different brain cells or neurons, they connect. They pass information between each other. And when they do that, some sort of memory is created. And when we do that over and over, connect these things. So when I'm a child, I'm learning how to tie a shoelace. These shoelace neurons are this, the tactile, the feeling, the visual, the thought, all of those things. Those brain cells haven't connected yet, but I start doing it, and so they start connecting. And now I've tied my shoelace however many millions of times, and so now their connection is so strong. It's that the information passes through it effortlessly, that I don't have to think about it. I just tie my shoelaces while I'm, calculating the square root of pi or something. Like, that's what happens in our brain, not just when we're doing something physical, like tying a shoelace, playing the piano, writing, throwing a ball, but also when we're thinking about anything. And so if I think about something, those thought neurons connect. So when I think I am awesome and I love myself, those thought neurons of I am awesome, I love myself, they connect. When I think that over and over, those get stronger and stronger. It's the same way, like over there, we've got a dirt path. At some point, maybe that was just a path where people walked upon. And then they cut down the trees, they put a track there, so now bicycles and four-wheel drive can get across it. And then they make it more nice, and now like most cars can get across it. And then up here they've paved it, and so now cars can go 120 kilometers a mile on it, an hour 120 kilometers an hour on it. And so it's the same thing that happens with our brains. We're making a new memory, a new thoughts are occurring. So we're walking through the jungle, a thick jungle. We got to chop down the vines and things. We keep thinking it. We get a dirt path we can ride a bicycle on. Then we can drive a four-wheeler on. And now we can drive a car on. I don't know if we go 120 on this one, but it's the same thing with thoughts. But people don't believe that for whatever reason, because we have society that disempowers us and tells us you are who you are, you were born this way, it's in your DNA, it's in your genetics. We've got this really basic archaic Freudian psychology that believes that like we are these certain fixed objects or things like that. And because it's hard sometimes, often, it's hard for us to know that some other way to do something exists when we've just been doing it the same way our whole life, which is thinking this is how I am, this is how I am. that it's hard to realize that, oh, maybe this is not how I am. Maybe these are just deeply ingrained habits that can be changed. But in order to change them, I need to be very conscious about what kind of roads I'm making in my brain that becomes automatic ways of thinking. And so that is why, for me, one of my most foundational practices that started some years ago and came together from a confluence of different things, including understanding and believing what he says in The Power of Habit, that whatever I do over and over, I'm going to get better at. And so if I'm thinking over and over about negativity, about how stupid I am, about how, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart, about how I'm going to run out of money and I don't know what to do and I need to stress about it. If I think about those things over and over, then those thought processes get easier and easier. I'm not saying that they necessarily bring it about per se. It doesn't matter whether or not they bring about the world crumbling. If in my mind I'm continually thinking that it's crumbling, I'm experiencing it as crumbling, whether or not it's actually happening outside. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in life that is positive and that is sending out positive ripple effects to others. That's why I choose to live in a place like this, where I look out the bedroom window and I see a field of millions of yellow flowers, and in the distance is the ocean, and I can hear birds chirping. When I have that ability, I make a choice to live in places like that. Sometimes I don't, then that's fine. I just I'm at peace and equanimous with that. But the foundational main practice is being conscious about what I am putting in my mind and what sort of road or habit or ability that is giving me. And how I'm putting it in my mind is, what am I absorbing? What am I ingesting? Am I reading the news that is spreading a certain type of message? I don't have anything against the news, like the news is evil or whatever. Just if I look at the news currently, the general news, reading things that people write in order to get money, seems like a large amount of it is not stuff that I would want to actually exist in my life. And so I'm not really interested in ingesting it. Like, it's not really bringing me anything positive. And I'm not making any positive difference in things that I'm reading just by reading them. So I'm not really interested in it. Similar with music. I used to listen to violent, negative, aggressive, demeaning music, or just music that perpetuates stories that I'm not interested in having. I grew up listening to the Beatles. And I can sing, without even thinking, I can still sing songs. And when I was in the dark room 2 years ago in India, after some weeks in there, different little memories would come up, little songs or little things from childhood, little sayings, things I had not thought of in long time, long little things that my mother would sing to us when she's rocking to sleep or things like that. But also things come up, and I would have little song loops sometimes for days, and I would just observe them like, oh wow. And I would observe the conditioning that put into my mind, like one of the Beatles songs, "You're gonna lose that girl. Yes, yes, you're gonna lose her. You're gonna lose that girl." That's a great message for a little kid to believe. Or, "You better run for your life if you can, little girl. Catch you with another man, little girl. That's the end, little girl." That's a great message for a child to ingest. And I don't have anything against the Beatles. I mean, some of their music is nice and fun, and they were on their own journey. I don't have any judgment for it. It's just, is this information that I want my mind to believe is important and subsequently put out into my experience? No, it's not, And so a couple days ago, I don't watch movies barely at all because of this reason. Because I'm aware of it. And now I'm also at a place of awareness and of sensitivity of how I feel, to where I'm not just unconsciously ingesting things anymore, food or alcohol or, movies or whatever. Like I do things to give me benefit from, not just to do them because everyone's doing them or because I believe this is what to do. And so it's been a while that I've known that generally when I watch movies, I don't have a positive experience. It's not usually giving me something that I want to learn or enjoy, or is helping me in my journey. Even documentaries sometimes, so I don't watch much of them, and just because I'm generally living life in some way, not just sitting staring at a screen. But the other day, I had some time ago, some people mentioned this movie, Don't Look Up. And I had heard it kind of being described in positive ways, like having some sort of positive message or something, and it stuck in my mind. And I was already thinking, I don't think that I really want to see this. But a few days ago, I was feeling a bit tired and whatnot. The mind went back to one of the old stories. Let's just watch a movie and chill. And so I turned on Netflix and I watched Don't Look Up. And it, within like the first couple minutes, it was obvious. And thankfully, for years, I have gotten out of this pattern of needing to watch a movie until it's over, like feeling this guilt if I don't watch it until it's over. Like I don't feel that anymore. I'm comfortable ending movies if they don't resonate with me. But this one, I decided to watch the whole way through. And it was absolutely horrible. Just incredibly poor information to be putting into my brain. And I really felt almost sick from it. Just because it's like, if that is the example that is purportedly, it's being put out by Leonardo DiCaprio and one of the leaders in that industry, and someone who purports to care about these sorts of issues, and that's the best that we can do, in my opinion, by far, that message that movie put out was super negative. That maybe in the big general, hey, well, we're talking about, there's division, or we need to come together, or we need to acknowledge global warming or whatever it is. Yeah, right. Like that's okay. That's the positive message, but it is just filled with garbage. Just filled with garbage. It blows my mind that this is 2022 and people like Leonardo DiCaprio, or just people in general, are supporting smoking still. The president of the United States is showing smoking as a nice thing. And it's like, and then alcohol, like, oh, this is what we do, taking Xanax because I don't want to feel my feelings. Like these are not positive messages for unconscious hundreds of millions, billions of people to be ingesting around the world. And so I was quite bothered by it. I felt quite bothered by it. I take ownership for that. It didn't bother me. I felt bothered by it because that's the place where I'm at right now. And so I said, okay, I shut it off. I closed up the house, went to bed. I said, tomorrow I'm just going to dry fast, stay in darkness, meditate, be in silence. Not that this movie, like I was afraid of it, that it was impacting me so much. It was those things that I just said, they move me in the direction that I'm interested in going. And they move me in the direction to where I'm at this place now that I'm at, to where generally I feel very positive. I feel very happy. Generally, my interactions with others are positive. They're putting out positive ripple effects to the world to the best of my awareness and best of my current ability. So I know that these things, like I just said, meditation, silence, just being calm, being internal, just being with myself, having a relationship with myself, letting go of eating and drinking for a while, just letting go of this continuous numbing. I know that those things, it's like a math equation. 1 + 1 equals, so far, it equals 2 for me. I believe that it's possible that it could equal other things, but so far, it equals 2. And so if I'm looking for 2, why would I go to 1 - 1? If I'm looking for 2, I'm going to go to 1 + 1 because I know so far it equals 2. And so if I'm looking for peace and positivity and being a person who can interact with others and support them and give them love and feel safe and heard, then I'm going to go to those things that do that. And if I know that watching things that are created by other people to get money from me and from others, and they're done in a society that does not have strong morality, it's 1 + 1. Or in that case, it's 1 - 1. 1 - 100. It's not, it doesn't make sense to me. So when I share this with people about the importance of paying attention to the words that we use and what we ingest, very often, if people even hear me, what they hear is, yeah, but I'm different because, yeah, sure, Samuel, those words you say, yeah, those might be negative to you, but to me, they're just a joke. They're just a joke, and it's just something that I do. It's just in my culture. It's just in my family. We used to do that. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not asking if it's a big deal or not. I'm not even asking if you believe it. It's just 1 + 1 or 1 - 100. It's just simple. This is what happens. Chemistry, neuroscience, this is what happens. It doesn't matter whether or not we think, hey, it's not a big deal for me to go play Grand Theft Auto all day with my 10-year-old kid, where I'm shooting people all day. And by the way, we happen to be in a society that has the most school shootings in the history of the world. It's not hard to see, but most people don't want to acknowledge it because it requires taking ownership for their experience. And it requires stepping into the unknown of, maybe it is possible for me to feel positive. Maybe it is possible for me to have more hope. Maybe it is possible for me to see more than just the negative. You don't need to be afraid of that. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool place, and you get to be in places like this where there's a lot of other people who are doing it. Lots of gatherings of people who are living this way. There's people building communities, just being with their families, raising them in the ways that just take in some basic intentionality into what is our ultimate end state with our lives, with our family, with our society. If we want to have, like, just ask yourself that question, just stop. What is my ultimate end state? Because if the ultimate end state is to have money, then it would make sense to focus on making money. If the ultimate end state is to have stress and anxiety, then it would make sense to focus on stress and anxiety. If the ultimate end state is to have aggression and violence, it would make sense to focus on aggression and violence, to ingest that, to read it, to watch it, to listen to it, to be in places where other people are doing it. It would make sense to do that because that's how you're going to get better at aggression and violence. But if the ultimate end state is to enjoy life, or to just relax and be at peace, or to be happy, or feeling love, then it would make sense to practice that, to read about it, to learn about it, to listen to it, to feel it, to practice feeling it, to be with people who have achieved the love states that you're interested in. Now, for many of us initially, there might not be many of them around here who we can see, of who's achieved the love or the peace or whatever, because most everyone else is freaking out. But you do a little intentionality, you get on the computer, you do some searching, you start speaking it out and around, letting people know, hey, you know, this is kind of what I'm into. Yeah, I'm not really into that anymore. Actually, I like this stuff that makes me feel like this. You ever feel that? You remember when you were a kid, when you felt that? Yeah, that's kind of what I like. You know anyone who's doing that? Oh yeah, this person's doing that. They're really weird, you know? Oh yeah. And slowly, you get out of the places where people consider that to be weird, and you get to be, oh yeah, of course, that's the way I live my life. Welcome. You're welcome. Absolutely. Enjoy.